Boyd, I want to play for folks at home some of the back and forth with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. during his testimony yesterday in this hearing from before House Republicans and Democrats talking about censorship. It was fiery at times. Here he is talking about being misrepresented when it comes to vaccines.
I have never been anti-vax. I have never told the public avoid vaccination. The only thing I've asked for, and my views are constantly misrepresented, so that the truth of what I believe is not, we're not allowed to have a conversation about that with the American people, which I believe vaccines should be tested with the same rigor as other medicines and medications.
Boyd, is this about censorship, or is this about Republicans giving RFK Jr. a platform to muddy the waters, make it more difficult for President Biden to get reelected?
There's probably a little bit of both in there. We always know that congressional hearings are going to have a little bit of theatrics and a little bit of fun in there in terms of just trying to elevating the political conversation. There are serious concerns in terms of what those social media platforms can and cannot do and the impact that has. We've already also seen a lot of the AI component that's going to play in and play very big that will create a lot of debates, whether what can happen from the platform, what we need to discern as voters, and what campaigns are allowed to do in using AI or just getting their message out there. I do think it's interesting from a platform standpoint with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's clearly gotten under the skin of the Biden campaign and the administration. So, of course, the Republicans want to tout that up a little bit, give that a little bit of oxygen. But I also think this is an interesting inflection point for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's sort of gone from that motto that whenever you're trying to start a new movement, first they ignore you, then they ridicule you, then they fight you, and then hopefully you win. And not saying Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is going to win, but he's clearly being taken a little more serious because he's getting to the fight stage. And we saw that from a lot of the congressional Democrats yesterday, trying to knock him down because they believe he is a threat to undermine some of that support for President Biden.
Right. And so let's play a portion of that. Democrats doubling down on his comments on COVID-19. Here he is saying that he is not a racist.
You tried to associate me a moment ago with the replacement theory, which is racist.
No, I did not say you
Time
had the
belongs to the gentleman.
I said my colleagues.
Time belongs to the gentleman from
I
Kentucky.
denounce that theory. It is racist, and I have never endorsed it or had any association with it.
Could the fact that he's in the hot seat backfire not only on Republicans, but on him and his campaign?
I don't think so. I think he handled himself pretty well. It was fiery at times, to be sure, but he showed that he does have a set of beliefs, that he is not as out of the mainstream as many of the mainstream Democrats, establishment Democrats, want to make him out to be. And so I actually think it was a pretty good day for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. To make a case, to make his points, to set aside some of the things that are maybe on the margins or misinterpreted. And so I think that's probably a good day for him.
All right. Well, maybe not as good a day for Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. We've seen him reshuffling some things within his campaign. He's gotten a lot of money, but he's let go of some of his staff, essentially rebooting his campaign and his focus. Why is he having a challenge right now in gaining momentum? What are his biggest hurdles to overcome?
You know, I think it goes back to something you and I talked about when he launched his campaign, and that is, can you actually do the retail politics and make that personal connection? Cash flow covers a multitude of problems inside of a campaign. He had a lot of money going in and said he was going to spend a lot of money to create an organization. And I think what he's discovered in these first few weeks of his campaign is it simply doesn't work that way. You really do have to get out there and make that individual pitch, especially in places like Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina. And so I think the shuffle, these are normal. Remember, most campaigns go through 2 or 3 of those cycles if they make it all the way to the end. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about that. I think one of the very interesting points, though, is who has cash on hand. Regardless of who raised money during the last quarter, it's interesting that the 2 people with the most money are former President Trump and Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina actually has as much cash on hand as the former president and ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.